Welcome to SnowEx Liquid Solutions training module, using liquids to optimize safety outcomes and reduce liability risk. In this module, we will discuss liability as a primary point of pain for contractors and examine how liquid approaches provide better levels of safety on customer properties and safer working conditions for contractors' crews. Slip and fall claims are a significant point of pain for most contractors. These represent a costly business risk that is on the rise. As a result, the commercial snow and ice industry has developed a salt problem. According to a University of Waterloo survey, a majority of contractors apply excess salt to avoid slip and fall claims. 75% of contractors surveyed indicated more than 10% of salt could be saved if litigation and insurance premiums were not a concern. The appropriate use of liquid strategies can appreciably mitigate those risks. Anti-icing is the best management practice for high-incident events like black ice or frost, and liquids are the only deicers that can be applied to high-risk areas like curbs. According to the Salt Institute, anti-icing returns surfaces to bare pavement conditions more quickly, saving lives, reducing property damage due to fewer accidents, and reducing losses to local businesses. Below are just a few of the studies out there that validate that claim. A 12-year study in the Denver area documented a 14% decrease in snow and ice-related accidents after the implementation of anti-icing on metro interstates. In another major study, Utah reported a noticeable decrease in snowpack and indicated that bare pavement levels of service were being achieved almost 3 times faster since implementing liquid strategies. In that same study, 20 out of 21 state agencies surveyed indicated anti-icing and pre-wetting practices had improved roadway safety in their jurisdictions. Anti-icing is largely credited with the improved safety outcomes. Like a preventative medicine approach, anti-icing is based on evidence that by investing resources on the front end of a storm to prevent a problem, in this case ice or hardpack, from bonding to the pavement, it is possible to mitigate post-storm impacts and reduce the labor, time, and cost to clean up afterwards. To better understand why liquids improve safety outcomes, let's briefly review how liquids are used. Anti-icing pre- and post-treating with direct liquid application is a proactive strategy to prevent compacted snow and ice from bonding to the pavement. Pre-wetting salt, as it is being dispersed to the pavement during de-icing operations, jumpstarts the brining process and hastens the breakup of bonded ice and hardpack. Both of these approaches produce significant safety advantages. However, anti-icing or prevention is almost always a preferred approach. In this analogy, we examine 2 approaches to achieving clean pans. On the left, the approach is similar in practice to the traditional de-icing approach, which waits and reacts to baked on, burnt on, bonded material, and then tries to soak, scrape, and scrub it off. The approach on the right is comparable to anti-icing that takes a proactive pre-treating approach to prevent anything from sticking in the first place. Now, if a clean pan is a metaphor for a safe surface, which of these approaches achieves a safe surface faster? According to the Manual of Practice for an Effective Anti-Icing Program, in contrast to anti-icing, when de-icing of the pavement becomes necessary, it requires a large quantity of chemical to work its way through the pack to reach the snow pavement interface and destroy the bond. As a result of its inherent delay, de-icing often provides less safety at higher cost than anti-icing. To further illustrate the difference between these 2 approaches, answer this question. In the days preceding a storm, what are most contractors doing? The number 1 answer is catching up on sleep, because once the snow starts to fly, a contractor never knows when he'll get to rest again. After the storm hits, contractors continue to wait until the trigger depth specified in their contracts is reached before beginning to plow and spread chemicals. All the while, snow builds up on client properties and begins to compact. On the other hand, with an anti-icing approach, in the days before a storm, crews are out at convenient times pre-treating customer surfaces. When the storm starts, they may also wait for the trigger to begin plowing. However, their surfaces are protected right up until plowing measures begin. The improved condition of the pre-treated side of this parking lot is obvious. On the other hand, in this picture, the pre-treatment can no longer keep pace with the rate of accumulation, but it does continue to prevent it from bonding to the pavement, as is evidenced by the increased traction of the footprints on the left. Pre-treating can melt up to about 3/4 of an inch of snow before it starts to accumulate on top of the application. When that happens, the bottom layer will remain unbonded snow or slush until it refreezes or is cleared by plowing or shoveling. The added friction achieved by pre-treating is further demonstrated here. This picture shows a lot 4 hours after it was pre-treated. The storm has started and you can see the lines where the de-icer was applied. A bit later, 2 pictures were taken of tire tracks. The upper one was taken on the pre-treated side of this lot and the bottom on the untreated side. Note the reduced level of friction or traction achieved by the tires on the untreated side, where the snow has bonded and the tires are no longer making contact with the pavement. In these pictures, taken 5 minutes apart of neighboring properties in the Twin Cities metropolitan area, one lot was pre-treated and the other was not. At the point these pictures were taken, which is the safer surface? The lot on the right is already black and wet, while the one on the left is still waiting for de-icing measures to begin. If this storm were ongoing, the property on the left would run a much higher risk of having the accumulation begin to compact and bond to the pavement. In addition to significantly improving safety outcomes on customer properties, the advantages for a contractor of having his crew pre-treating versus working extended hours de-icing cannot be overstated. This service provider is out pre-treating surfaces in much better working conditions than those they will encounter on the back end of the coming storm. 24 hours from when this picture is taken, there could be several inches of snow, but when this contractor goes back out to plow, he should get close to black and wet, and the time and material required to reach his objectives will be appreciably less than if he hadn't pre-treated. Pre-treating substantially reduces post-storm cleanup, producing not only safer surfaces for the customer, but reduced risk of operator error due to fatigue, and provides safer working conditions for maintenance crews. A preventative anti-icing approach is also significantly less costly to execute, requiring an estimated 4 times less salt and 1/10 the overall cost to achieve similar results using a traditional de-icing approach. If the driveway on the right had been pre-treated, it would be black and wet, and this contractor would be home resting or somewhere else making money. It will not always be possible to stay ahead of a storm, and when de-icing becomes necessary, liquids can also provide strategic advantages by pre-wetting your salt. As demonstrated in this picture, note how much faster the pre-wet salt on the right has worked its way through this ice compared to the dry salt on the left. Dry salt cannot melt anything until it absorbs heat and begins to go into solution or form brine. On hard pack, this de-icing process can take up to hours to be ultimately effective and requires huge amounts of salt. When you pre-wet salt, it is already brining when it hits the surface, so it goes to work much faster to penetrate and break up compacted snow and ice to expedite plowing. Pre-wetting has been proven to return surfaces to safer conditions sooner than by using dry salt. To summarize, a preventative anti-icing approach maintains optimal levels of safety from the point of application, using less labor, less salt, and costing substantially less than by utilizing a traditional de-icing approach. Pre-treating with liquids provides safer working conditions for maintenance crews because it is executed at an optimal time in the days prior to a storm and has been proven to reduce post-storm cleanup and the fatigue that results. When de-icing is required, pre-wet salt penetrates ice pack quicker and returns the surface to safe conditions sooner. Thank you for your interest in liquid solutions. For more information on the benefits of using liquids, see the modules on using liquids to cut costs and grow profit, and using liquids to reduce salt damage to customer properties.